So we have here update on the WNBA standings as of 8/11/2025. So here we go. Let's go talk about it. So first we have the number 1 seed, the Minnesota Lynx. They are the number 1 seed so far in this class. So the Minnesota Lynx are the number 1 seed. 27-5 there. 7 games ahead of New York Liberty after the win over the New York Liberty on ABC on Sunday. That was the ABC featured game before the Little League Softball World Series. And the Minnesota Lynx ended up winning that one by like 10 points. He did, I believe. I think it was by 10. Yeah, 12. 83-71. So the Minnesota Lynx do win that one. Big time win for the Minnesota Lynx. Oh, the Aces? No, the Liberty. Their only way they can win the Liberty to be the number 1 seed. The only way they can be the number 1 seed. And that's without Nafisa Collier. Doing it without Nafisa Collier. But they brought in EJ Carrington, who is a solid player. Solid role player for the Aces. Or for the Lynx. I don't know, I keep saying Aces. The Lynx. They're a solid role player. I mean, if the Aces, if the Lynx. I mean, I keep saying the Aces though because they do have a girlfriend. Melissa Smith. Anyways, but yeah. I think if the Lynx get they only need to string together a couple wins, and they've got it, under the bag. So if they can play like really solid basketball stuff without Nafisa Collier, I think they got it. They can prove they're championship contenders, especially if Liberty do not have Brianna Stewart. The Liberty do not have Brianna Stewart in that game. They did not have Brianna Stewart in that game. They're not sure when Brianna Stewart's able to come back. They're not sure. Because they just aren't. I mean, they haven't mentioned when she's coming back, but it's not like a great time. The Liberty aren't playing bad, but they're just not as good without Brianna Stewart. They're only 5-5 without Brianna Stewart, so the Lynx are actually being a solid team still without Nafisa. They're still pretty solid without Nafisa. 9-1 last 10. So it's showing that they're still really good without Nafisa. Nafisa Collier. They played a few games without her. Played 2, 3. They played 3 games without her since they beat a good Storm team by a few points on the road. They beat scrappy Washington, Mississippi. They beat a good New York Liberty team. I mean, a decent New York Liberty team. They're not as good without Nafisa Collier or Brianna Stewart. But they got Emma Mason. They brought her in. Try to bring her in to take over Brianna Stewart's role. And they brought in DJ Carrington. And they got rid of Diamond Miller and Melissa Peavy too. They waived Melissa Peavy. She's on the Sparks playing for her. 7-day contracts for her old college coach, and then Roberts. So I don't know. I mean, the Lynx need to win 2 more games. That's all they need to do is win 2 more. And the Lynx have the number 1 seed. I mean, outright. Well, even regardless of tiebreakers, they would have it outright pretty much in 3 games. 3 more wins, and they've got a pretty light schedule. Lynx don't play again. They have a good break. They have a solid long break. They don't play until Saturday, next week Saturday against the Liberty. Again in Minnesota. And they play Tuesday against the Liberty in New York again. So they have so pretty much 2 wins would clinch it. Would clinch outright regardless of tiebreakers. Two wins against New York. I mean, 3 wins, even if they lose one of them, or lose both even, they still can clinch it at 30 wins. So, I mean, it's like, yeah, so they're not like, it's not like they shouldn't be like that ultra worried. Lynx shouldn't be. The Liberty, though, want to keep other teams out of second place, especially without Brianna Stewart. And I'm not at 100% strength. I mean, they're still good, but they're not like an amazing, team. So they really need Brianna Stewart at Liberty because they're in danger of falling into 3rd, 4th, teams. There's other teams that are catching up though in the standings for that number 2 spot. Like the Dream are catching up. Now Dream had some solid wins. They beat a good solid Phoenix team in Phoenix. Then they beat a Chicago team struggling. Then last week Sunday they beat Chicago. They beat Washington. So they do have Atlanta. It is a little bit tougher stretch. They have Seattle coming up. They play Seattle in Seattle on Wednesday. Then on Ion they play on Friday. So then on Sunday they play Golden State. So, and they play Las Vegas. So they do have some tougher games upcoming. So Atlanta could fall a little bit in the standings, but they could also gain a little bit, which would be kind of a good thing for Seattle if they can pull some wins out. They kind of need to because you have teams like Los Angeles Sparks and Washington Mystics who are catching up. Like Los Angeles is only a game behind win-wise, so they could catch up. I mean, Atlanta is playing really solid basketball, with the Carlos Vasquez coach. You got Ryan Howard, you have Brittany Griner, Breeden Jones, a bunch of good solid players like Alicia Gray and Naz Hillman. You just got a whole bunch of solid players on their roster. This season, they got a whole bunch of solid players, and Atlanta is a really solid team. So I'm gonna So I like Atlanta. I think with Brianna Stewart, Atlanta could actually move up to the number 2 spot. Because and then when Brianna Stewart does come back, she's going to be on a minutes restriction, and they're gonna need to be in win now mode. I mean, yes. I mean, they don't. They do need to be in win now mode. I mean, they could be like one of those teams that goes like 7. They could go like a 6 seed, 7 seed in the playoffs. I don't know about 7, but maybe like a 6 seed. They could go to like a 6 seed. You know, be like a dangerous 6 seed. So I could see it. You know, I could see it. So, and we have and the Lynx. If Nafisa comes back, they're gonna, and they already clinched number 1 spot. They're gonna have the luxury of bringing Nafisa, you know, back in and not worrying necessarily about the wins and losses. You know, they're going to have like the number 1 seed clinched. So outright. So if they do by a big margin, though, you know, they can still just, you know, play hard, but they don't really need like necessarily ultra worry about like the number 1 seed, though. You know, like extend, like, you know, just like really dominating. I mean, they can bring her in some situations more. No, you know, they're not in must win now mode, so if they bring her back into fitness shape, you know, they can. Phoenix. Now, Phoenix is a good team. Although Phoenix has had some losses. Well, they obviously lost to Atlanta. They beat Indiana big, though, on Thursday. On Amazon, they blew Indiana with, but that was the game where Ari McDonald was injured. Ari McDonald got injured, and so did Sydney Colson. They had season-ending injuries for the year. In that same game, or Sydney, you know, both had like season-ending injuries. And then they had Caitlin Clark out. She's been out pretty much most of the season. So if they can, and they couldn't sign anyone to like a hardship contract. So they've had to play people like Chloe. Some of the players are more on the bench. You can't really sign no one to like a hardship contract, like rest of season contract, till after they weren't allowed to sign anyone until after like game on Saturday night on CBS against Chicago Sky. They weren't able to sign no one until then. Indiana wasn't, so. But yeah, Phoenix has had some good games. They beat Connecticut. They've had some little easier teams on their schedule, but last time they played the Dream, they got blown out against the Dream. So Phoenix good, but they're not like. Are they just playing good because they're playing good, not so good teams? Yeah, maybe though. I mean, Phoenix does have to play against the Aces. So I want to see how on Friday on Ion. So I kind of want to see how the Aces play. How Aces and Phoenix play. That's going to be a big, good showdown. Because Phoenix is kind of struggling against some of the teams, like top teams with other talent there. So I don't know, a little bit lately. So especially against the Dream. So I mean, so Las Vegas. I think Las Vegas could actually beat them. Because Phoenix is up and down team. Indiana, no, I haven't heard who Indiana signed as like hardship contract players for the rest of the season. If players that used to be in the WNBA or current like in training camp this year, like invites as like training camp invites, that type of thing, or in the draft, So I'm not for sure really. I do think that in Indiana might be okay, but it's really got to depend on on kind of like training camp and how that goes. to be honest, because I mean how their invites go and how they do with the rosters, because they don't have a timetable on Caitlin Clark. Yeah, because it's one of those things like they might be cautious about it because she's injured it twice this year. And like 3 times, and it's not like painful injury. And there was something from Sophie Cunningham where they were saying that on her like podcast. I seen like a little clip from it where they were saying that her injury, it's not like a painful injury, but like, you know, it doesn't hurt all the time. But like when you're like physically like active, you know, with it, or like really like not just like normal like walking or something, but maybe like when you're running or doing that type of thing, it might put a lot of pressure on it more. It'll put more pressure. You know, it hurts. They're trying to be cautious. So, and then they got 9 players. They got like not very good. So they got to bring in some rest of the season players for Sydney Close and Aaron McDonald. So can they do that? I mean, especially if they want to make a playoff run, they need them to in the playoffs. They need someone that can be rest of the season. Some players, so I mean, and they play against Dallas on Tuesday, so can they bring them to Dallas or Indiana on Tuesday? You know, can they do that? And then, you know, they might not play on Tuesday against Dallas unless they already got some players signed yesterday or on Monday. You know, yesterday, but they should probably at least be able to play against Washington on Friday. So hopefully then, so we'll see. I think that's a good solid game. You know, that could be a good test, you know. Washington against the new additions. Indiana or Las Vegas. I don't know, Indiana might be okay. They might not be. I mean, I think they're gonna slip a little bit. To be honest with you, they might slip out of the playoffs. I mean, depending on the other teams. I mean, there's the other teams do, but Indiana might be like 7th, 8th. But I think they're gonna be sliding though a good bit. And especially without I don't know, Las Vegas. Now, Las Vegas is one of those teams that kind of had some up and down moments this season, but they've definitely been improving as of late, which is ever since that win since that loss to the Lynx, that big loss to Lynx, like a big blowout loss. They beat Golden State by like 24, big last week Sunday on the 3rd. Then on the 6th they beat Golden State again by 6 in San Francisco. Then on Friday they beat Seattle by 4. Then Sunday they beat the 10th. They beat Connecticut by 8. So they have a game against New York Liberty, which will still be a tough test for them, but it's gonna be at home. But it's also gonna be a test to see if they can win against a solid team, but not without Brianna Stewart. I'll see how they match up against Emma Neeson and all of them. That's gonna be a good tough test. Against Storm was a tough test too. So then they play against Phoenix on Friday. Then Sunday they play against Dallas. And they play against Atlanta on Tuesday. And then Thursday they play against Phoenix and Amazon. So kind of interested to see how that goes. Because they have a good stretch. A little bit tougher stretch. So I'm kind of interested to see how they go, how they match up. Because they don't have like the easiest stretch. So I'm kind of interested a little bit into that, you know. But then after the 27th, the Aces have like a huge time off, like a week off before they play on against Minnesota on Amazon on the 4th of September. So they play the 7th of September to Sunday against Chicago, and then the 9th against Chicago again. And then they play the 11th against Los Angeles. So I don't know. I mean, they still got a little bit easier stretch, but near the end. But they still got to work. They still got a little bit tougher stretch in the beginning, though. So this will really prove and help them if they can beat some of the teams that are ahead of them, like Atlanta, and beat Phoenix, and beat New York. They'll actually improve them in the schedule, and they'll actually, against teams that are ahead of them, they'll actually help them leapfrog more towards the top, which is what you want. Now Golden State's been a little up and downish. I think they have a nice bounce. Could have a nice bounce back against Connecticut, who's playing back-to-back. But then they play Washington Mystics on Wednesday. Friday they play against Chicago. So they have some good tests. Then they have Wednesday. Then they end up finishing on the 17th. It's a tough test against Atlanta, but they get some momentum building, against Chicago on Friday. Wednesday against Washington. Monday against Connecticut. So they got some good tests. They got, some momentum building they can do, especially against teams that are kind of even with them, like, would be like Washington on Wednesday. But Chicago and Connecticut should be momentum building wins. And then they got, could get a win against Atlanta. Atlanta's played tough though. They got a tough game against Phoenix. So then they got back-to-back against Phoenix. For them, they got Tuesday against Phoenix, and then Friday against Phoenix. But Phoenix is going to play a back-to-back though against Atlanta, or against Las Vegas, Las Vegas, and the Las Vegas East, and they have to play Golden State Valkyries in Phoenix, Arizona. So I don't know. I mean, it's kind of a little tough, but Golden State could get a little bit momentum. At least towards keeping them in the playoffs. Seattle. I'm liking Seattle, but Seattle's just been kind of up and down though. But they got a win. They could get a win against Atlanta. They beat Atlanta before. It's some close games against Atlanta. They have to play a Wednesday, Friday game against Atlanta. And the other one, if Wednesday's in Seattle, Friday's in Atlanta. No, Friday's the Vancouver game. The Canada game. They're playing it. I forgot they're playing the game in Canada this year again. Honestly, for a second. Yeah, they're playing a game in Canada. They had a game last year in preseason. Again, in Toronto. And then this year they had one in the regular season against Seattle and basically gonna be an away game for both teams. Essentially. And yeah, you can see it here. Atlanta 1-1, Seattle 1-1. It's gonna be tough, close back, but playing a back-to-back. Playing them in a row twice. So Seattle's got some tough games against Phoenix, so they could slip a little bit. But then they got Chicago. So they got Atlanta back to back. They got Wednesday, Friday, Sunday Phoenix. They got Chicago, Dallas, and then they got a little bit tougher stretch. But I think Seattle should be okay to make the playoffs, but I don't know though. I mean, some of the teams, if they got Los Angeles Sparks, the Mystics, they got dumb teams. Dallas, I mean, Connecticut, are they going to make the playoffs? I mean, technically, they still can, but if they lose one more, if they lose tonight to Golden State, they're out. They're eliminated. Dallas, 40 game season. Dallas has got 8 more to go. 16-24. They might be eliminated if the Golden State wins. That'll be the same with Chicago, pretty much. Actually, no, Chicago could be 17-23, so Chicago wouldn't be eliminated yet. But it's gonna be, but yeah. So I don't know. I give Chicago like a win. I don't know. I mean, now Washington looks better with their against. They got rid of Lee Edwards, brought in J.C. Sheldon. They swapped players. I mean, Lee Edwards did look good for Connecticut in their last game against the Aces. Not bad though. And J.C. Sheldon didn't look too bad in Washington. No Washington's game. Against Dallas, you can, I mean, they ran out of Edwards. Or just Sheldon. 8 points, 2 runs, 2 for 6. I mean, she didn't play like a lot of time, but she wasn't bad though. For the role, they need her to play like the bench role. She wasn't bad though. They brought in Alicia Clark to come off the bench in Washington again. They got they traded away Brittany Sykes to Seattle, which I don't know why they did that, but with Brittany Sykes, it was her first game back in Seattle. It was her first game in Seattle against the Aces. They had her come off the bench. She played 14 points, 2 rebounds, more than Skylar Diggins, but Skylar Diggins was not playing that well though. He had some assists, but Malanga played really well. 22 points, 12 rebounds off the bench. 14-2 for Brittany Sykes, 6 assists, so they really solid. Not bad game for her. So yeah, I don't know. So we'll see. How this season shapes up, all the rest of it.